Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Sounds of the Hardwood podcast. In today's episode, we'll be continuing our conversation on NBA free agency, as it's covering the deals that have gone down yesterday and any news that comes in while we're on live doing our episode. How y'all guys doing today? How your weekend been going?
Good. Waiting on to see if we get another massive trade since we've had a couple of the last few days, which we'll talk about. So
Yeah, there's been a few chatters going on. Some reason to get excited. We've had some movement, had some re-signings, we've had some trades going on. So, Soto, you can recap what has progressed over the past day.
Yeah, we'll go over the trades that happened. Some of the trades that have happened. The Jazz agreed to trade Rudy Gobert to the Timberwolves for 5 players, 4 first-round picks, 3 unprotected, and a pick swap. Then we have the Pacers agreeing to trade Malcolm Brogdon to the Celtics for 5 players, including Daniel Tice and Aaron Nesmith, and a 2023 first-round pick, top 12 protected. And the Hawks agreed to trade Kevin Herter to the Kings for Justin Holiday, Maurice Harkless, and a 2024 first-round pick, top 14 protected.
Gotcha. Okay. So, with all of those moves that Soto, 3 moves that Soto just read, I figured we each give our opinion and feedback on what we thought of those respective deals. Obviously, starting from the first one, working our way down. So, the first one, as Soto said, was the Jazz agreed to trade Rudy Gobert to the Timberwolves. That was either for the five. It was a 5 player swap and 4 picks. But the meat of that trade was the fact that the Rudy Gobert is now a member of the Minnesota Timberwolves, paired alongside Karl Anthony Towns. So the Minnesota Timberwolves have gone big. They have got themselves a big front court to try to make themselves take that next step in the West. And Utah has felt the need to move past Rudy Gobert and try to build around Donovan Mitchell. So, question is, who you think was the winner and the loser of that trade? And moving forward, how do you think how does that trade affect each team respectively?
Hmm.
Anybody hop in? I don't, you know what I mean? Whoever want the mic, you take it.
Oh,
I guess I can go.
Yeah, why not?
Gobert's a lot of money paired with now the extension with Karl Anthony Towns.
What is it, like 400 plus million together with them?
Yeah, that's a lot. I guess they're figuring that Rudy Gobert can cover up a lot of the glaring holes defensively that Karl Anthony Towns brings. You maximize the shooting of Karl Anthony Towns at the power forward spot even more. He considers himself the best big man shooter, 3-point shooter of all time. I think Dirk Nowitzki will have something to say about that, but it's all right. At the end of the day, I think it works better for what they want to do as far as a team because now you're not having Rudy Gobert essentially having to worry about any kind of offense, which is what he's kind of, the knock on him has been is he provides no offense. Now you have D'Angelo Russell can kind of get in the lane, get him maybe some easy looks. If you're Minnesota, you get off of the guys like Malik Beasley, who they were kind of looking to trade anyway. Jared Vanderbilt, which brought you no offense. It's basically Jared Vanderbilt was what Rudy Gobert is like. Defensively, he's really good. Offensively, not much outside of dunks and cutting to the basket. Leandro Bolmaro didn't do anything. I don't even know that he's 6th in the league. Patrick Beverley will probably get rerouted from Utah to somewhere else just because he's a vet. If you're Utah, it's kind of funny. I have to take back what I said I made a joke about Brian Windhorst last time we did the podcast. At the same time, he was sweating profusely, kind of looking a little rough on the broadcast, but that was a master class of what he did with the story of Utah, kind of just rolling through of like, hey, put the pieces together of what they're doing. I don't think that Utah maybe looks to move Donovan Mitchell. I know there's conflicting reports with the beat writers. 2 of them are saying it's pretty much lining up that Donovan Mitchell is either going to ask out for a trade or they're going to push to trade him just to clear out the entire team, start back over because they don't feel like they're going to be as competitive as they could have been. With what I think is they go one more year with Donovan Mitchell, see what they have. If they can't, then maybe move him at the deadline. or next offseason move forward because they hired a young coach, Will Hardy, who's a development coach, came out of the Spurs system. I actually think it's a win for Utah just because the less risk, more draft picks, more building for the future. And Minnesota with a win right now, with a heavy competitive West, where are you finishing? 6th, maybe 5th with that combo? We'll see.
Got you. All right, next up.
I think the biggest winner of this trade is Karl Anthony Towns, to be honest with you, because now he doesn't have to focus, playing the paint. Now it's like, now he has a true rim protector watching his back. So it's like, all right, now I don't have to spend all this energy, guarding the bigs. And plus, in a way, he has become a better shooter over the years. So now his offensive game is going to change because now he's going to be taking all these jump shots and staying out in the perimeter. So I mean, it still remains to be seen like what happens. But I like the roster that Minnesota has built. It kind of seems more defensive minded, and I think Rudy Gobert is also a winner in this trade because, unlike Donovan Mitchell, D'Angelo Russell is more of a facilitator if you're comparing both of them. So obviously that's going to make Gobert feel better. But I like the roster that they built. So I think in terms of for the Minnesota Timberwolves trade, it's a major win for them. For the Utah Jazz, I think that remains to be seen what these draft picks later turn into. But to grade the Utah Jazz, it's still unknown, but huge win for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Got you.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is an easy answer. I think Minnesota won largely. But I think this also just shows Utah for the past few years, the question has been like they got to choose somebody to build the roster around, right? So I guess this is them saying, all right, Mitchell, before you skate out of here possibly, which is why I don't think they're going to trade him. But I think they did this move to basically be like, hey, this is your team now. They still got to find now a legit big that fits that system. I think Patrick Beverly is kind of good for that team. He adds what he does to any team, competitiveness, fire. That probably get the team to build in more, buy in more on defense. So that's a good. But besides that, I don't really see the direction that the Jazz are going. They got a whole bunch of picks now, right? New GM, all that stuff. But
don't forget it's your boy that was in Boston.
Yeah, but so now it's just like we kind of got to watch the rest of the free agency play out for Utah. Even in Minnesota, there was reports that they're kind of shopping D'Angelo Russell. So it's like, what kind of point guard are they looking for? So if they ship Russell out, we got to see who they bring in for a point guard because I feel like him and Cat have a good relationship, and even Russell with a few other players have. They kept McDaniels though, which I think is big for Minnesota. I think he has a decent upside. Good to see how
he's still slated small forward to start.
Yeah. So now he gets a chance to really prove what he can do. The double big lineup in the West, it could work. Like you guys both said, both Pete and Soto so far, like it kind of helps Karl-Anthony Towns because we know it showed in the playoffs he really wasn't a great defender. He was always in foul trouble. But now he could be a 4 where he could just shoot because he wants to claim he's the best big man. Yeah, he could just stretch the floor and shoot. And now he can be lazy on defense because you have Rudy there to do what he does, right? Rim protect. So, I mean, and I feel like it might give people problems throughout the season. But for the most part, they're going to have to sit Rudy at some point because he's not a great free throw shooter. He doesn't produce anything on offense. They'll probably end up giving in to most teams and going small ball lineup. So I feel like it helps, I guess, regular season. But when it comes to playoffs, if teams go small and they stick with their small ball, you're going to have to take one of those two out and you're going to have to match. You get what I'm saying? So as of right now, it looks like obviously Minnesota won it easily, but we still got to see, what pieces get put to each roster and see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I grade Utah as sort of like incomplete because I just don't see the direction where they're going. I know obviously Utah is trying to make a few more moves, but I know they're going to be rebuilding. Um, Minnesota for me is one of the big winners. Um, they basically recreated the old school Rockets with Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon. Basically, going to be clogging up the paint a little bit with Towns and Gobert. Obviously, everybody knocks Gobert because he can't shoot threes, and but he has developed some offensive game over the years. Not much, but at least he has something. He did shoot a career high field goal percentage this year and average more points per game and league high 15 rebounds. So he was basically 15 and 15. So I can't say that he won't give you some buckets offensively, but that depth that Minnesota has is good too. Everybody's like, oh, they traded all those players, but Minnesota still got depth on that team. And one sneaky signing was they got Slow-Mo on their team, Kyle Anderson too. So, I mean, that was good for them too. I think up and down, they're definitely going to compete. I did like the trade, definitely. Did I think they gave up a lot? Yeah, but we're talking about a defensive player of the year, guy that could lock down the paint and do different things. So I'm just going to say this as well. I think other teams players that want to be traded in the future, a la Kevin Durant, are also the biggest winners, because now it shows you that players that have the accolades and different things, the type of packages that are going to have to be given to these teams to get these players is something else too. So that's something for all of us to really think about, because if Rudy Gobert got that kind of haul, what kind of haul do you think somebody like Kevin Durant would get, or any other future player that wants to be traded? Just think of it like that as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess that major haul thing will make some of these teams feel a little less bad about the fact that their star players have asked for trades. I mean, it's hard to replace that type of talent, but I guess getting something of that big of a value back eases it somewhat. Utah, I don't know what the heck they're doing. You literally just traded away your defense. That's literally what you did. You traded away your entire defense. Rudy Gobert was the reason why that the Utah Jazz had a top defense in the league. That's literally
it. Don't forget they traded Royce O'Neal.
Royce O'Neal, the other person that was capable of playing defense
for another pick, as a first round pick as well. So they got rid of Royce O'Neal and Gobert, but they did get Pat Bev back. But you were saying earlier, they're probably
he's a perimeter defender. You know what I mean? Like, if you're looking at the Utah Jazz's problem, they give up a lot of drive and kick and a lot of points in the paint when Rudy Gobert is not on the court. So when you just took him completely off the team, it's like, okay, Donovan Mitchell, now who's there to bail you out when you get beat off the dribble? Like, I put that on Twitter because it's like honest. It's like, okay, who bails him out now when he gets beat off the dribble?
They still got Hassan Whiteside, aka I'm gonna get my 2K rating up.
Yeah, okay, but he don't play defense like Rudy Gobert does.
He's not coming back. He's a free agent.
He's not coming back. I figured.
So there's no reason. But for Minnesota, I think you just gave yourself an ability to play Towns how he really wants to play. He really wants to be a pick and pop. He really wants to be a floor spacer. And then he defensively, he doesn't really like having guard post bigs. I think you'll see more of the France Rudy Gobert on this team than you see NBA Rudy Gobert. Because when he plays in the FIBA, even if he plays against the US, all of a sudden Rudy Gobert has post moves. So they go, where did Rudy Gobert get a post move from? It's because he actually gets the ball when he sets that screen and rolls to the basket, other than just an alley-oop pass. I think the Kyle Anderson move allows the Timberwolves to maybe consider keeping D'Angelo Russell, because now you can put Kyle Anderson at that 3 spot. He can play a point forward, and you just slide offensively Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell kind of like off guards, and you let him play point. So then you can keep Towns out there, and then you have somebody that can actually run the offense to allow Edwards and Russell to focus more on scoring.
Right.
So I think the trend of watching the playoffs, especially with Boston running those 2 bigs with Al Horford and Robert Williams, have made teams reconsider. And then the size that the Bucks have, the size that the Lakers have tried to build, have made teams go, you do need a center on your team now. And if you can have two skilled bigs, you make yourself more of a dangerous team than trying to play small ball. I think small ball is officially dead in the NBA.
There you go. So I want to address something. I want to put a mention on it, but coach's comment is a good one. Rudy and KD's character is very different. He's right. One guy's more of a team-oriented, sort of down-to-earth guy. The other guy's more of a little bit outspoken, has a chip on the shoulder, and has a history of, maybe other people might not see it this way, of bailing on teams. But I wouldn't see. I can't really put it on bailing on teams, even though
Yeah, I would not put bailing on teams.
I was about to say,
greatest.
I don't really know.
No, that's what I was going to get into.
I don't really know who he bail on.
I'm not going to put bailing on teams. I think that's a little bit more of a stronger word. That's why I'm getting into the comment. I agree about the character thing, 1,000%. However, the bailing on the teams, that's a little bit different because, I mean, the Nets did let him recuperate and give him his bag when he was injured and everything like that. They didn't really have to do all that. He could have just sat there and all this other stuff and whatnot. And he went from a team.
If you were the Nets,
exactly,
let him go and have nothing.
Correct, exactly. And then that's what I'm saying. I don't really think.
Yeah,
I don't think that he bails on teams. I think that as a basketball player, sometimes you have to just go with what's best for your career and everything else. Like at this point, it seems like the Nets don't really have a concrete direction of what's going on. They have a lot of pieces in there that didn't really fit well together. So I think that might have been off-putting to KD. But to say that he bails on teams, I think it's a little bit of well, I don't even say a little. It's a pretty big stretch because I think bailing on a team would be, you went to the finals multiple years and then you have the same team together and you put a better team together every year and then you just dip for God knows what. I don't see that, to be honest with you, in this case. But
I'm playing devil's advocate
opinion,
here, right? I'm playing devil's advocate, right? Because I just have to. Didn't he technically do that to the Warriors?
No,
bailed on them.
Not really.
I'm going based on what Henry just said. Henry just said to win a championship,
he didn't resign
put together a real team. That's kind of what he did with the Warriors.
No,
he had a perfect situation.
Yeah, he got what he wanted and wanted to go try to prove everybody wrong.
I'm just saying, like, if you going based upon what Henry said, he had a perfect situation and he left it.
Not exactly.
Well, OKC was
not OKC.
If you want to lead your own team, and you're KD, and that's your mentality of being an alpha, you're looked at as one of the greatest players of all time. How is your legacy going to be looked at if you stay with the Warriors for 4, 5, 6 seasons?
Because
the Warriors winning a championship, his legacy is already down terrible. They just won another championship, so it's already taken out.
Warriors winning a championship hurts KD. We already all said that before. That championship doesn't hurt KD.
No, it doesn't.
They won one before KD got there. So how does that hurt KD?
Yeah, no, I agree.
But I'm saying, if you're looking at his career, that's the only place he's won. Everywhere else he's been, he has not been able to get to the top of that mountain.
Dale on OKC, he re-signed. He was the backpack kid that re-signed with OKC when everybody said, "Get out of there, you can't win with Russ."
I think people are forgetting how many years, how much blood, sweat, and hard work he put into OKC. He got them to the finals.
Hard work and sweat. He
got them to the finals and went into the Big Three. Ran into an experienced Heat team. It was LeBron James.
Nobody talks about
got the one game out of that series.
We can definitely go back to Kevin Durant when he gets traded.
I got one question though, real quick. Just so everybody also discounts the relationship that they had with Westbrook and KD and everybody else at that time too. That was a deteriorating relationship with those two at that point as well. So I don't think he bailed on OKC. Granted, they had Ibaka, KD, Harden.
OKC never gave him a legit
the only reason why I said that.
OKC never gave him a legit
The only reason why I say the bail thing is because the only reason I say some people may feel it's a bail thing is because even Sam Presti didn't know he was going to leave. I can understand that Russ didn't know, but when Sam Presti comes out and says that he didn't even know that he was going to leave, that's not a good look. You can slice that however you want you, take that cake, eat it. If a GM comes out and says that he didn't even know he was going to leave, that's not a good look.
I mean,
I mean, you could say that about Kyrie. You could say it about Westbrook.
Yeah, Kyrie might have see
could
the
say it
Bill
about a
the
bunch
Bill
of
word you can say on
players.
Kyrie more than KD.
The same as
KD
you
just
could say
left.
about,
Correct.
like, if we're talking about character, I mean, and bailing with teams and playing games and all that stuff, like Kyrie's got to be number one on that list.
And it's funny you said that, and that's KD's best friend.
I mean,
And maybe that relationship's tainted too.
yeah.
Now, because maybe KD was like, bro, why are you playing this game? Remember, this is something he supposedly, the reports are, he hasn't talked to management probably since playoffs, right? They got swept. And then there goes Kyrie doing Kyrie stuff, right? And then everybody's talking about is he gonna re-sign with them, and this happens, this trade stuff happens, and then KD goes, you know what? I'm not about to deal with this crap another year. Look what happened.
And
They've been together for how long in Brooklyn and barely played together.
He called
He was
Westbrook his
hurt.
brother, supposedly, right?
He
So
did.
if you're
He
facing
did.
the media and you know there's a fractured relationship, why are you going to make it more to where the media can
Nah.
slide in and cause more
With
controversy?
with that,
They never got along. They tried to
And
make
look,
it
hey,
work, but they could never coexist.
with that one, I'm gonna say they mamas is close. I'm gonna be when your mamas is close, y'all
It
close.
could be that. It
Kendrick
could be that.
Perkins came
Like
out and
that.
said they were not even close. They made it look like they were close, but they weren't. And they had to be forced to be brought together by Perk, Nick Collison, all of those guys, because they both did their own thing. KD had his entourage that he wanted around. Westbrook did his own thing with his own people, and they tried to make it work. There's nothing wrong with guys not getting along. You don't have to be best friends and be teammates.
Yeah,
Like, I don't
there's
think
teams
Jaylen
where
Brown and
exactly.
Jason Tatum are best friends, but they figured out how to make it work. Because
Yeah,
it's what they
yeah.
needed to do to win.
I get what Coach is saying though.
Yeah, I get it too.
Based
You
off the
tell
rest of his
truth,
comments,
that's good.
he's just saying as a man, stand
Right.
on your feet,
Oh, I
10 toes down,
1,000%
say what
agree.
you're gonna say.
No, Coach, we agree with you with
Nope,
that, bro.
we don't disagree with that. It was just a bail word. I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
he's a
I
bail.
think
I'll throw
that applies
KD.
more to Kyrie than it does to
Right.
KD at this point. And I know Keem is cringing in his shoes right now. He probably wants to like scream because we're saying that, but I mean,
What up, Bill?
facts are facts, man. Spade is a spade, bro.
Bill.
All right,
Okay,
so
real quick because I know everybody y'all say Kyrie bails. All right, real fast, and then we're gonna move on to another topic.
Oh,
To
all right.
me, this nigga, excuse my friends, Kyrie has not changed from day one. Okay, he has not changed. He has not changed. So at some point in time, are we gonna keep complaining about him doing stuff that he does, or just be like, that's Kyrie?
You're right. Yeah, you exactly right. I'll give you that. You're exactly right. From all the way back to Duke when he said, "Oh, I'm not. I don't know if I want to come to Duke. Yeah, I guess I'm coming to Duke. All right, you get hurt. All right, I'm with the Cavaliers. I just get the freedom to do whatever I want. Let's just move
Then
forward."
LeBron comes back and yeah.
Yeah. So I'll give you that. He has been the same since day one.
Yeah.
It's on the Cavaliers. They shouldn't have tolerated it from day one. They gave him more
Yeah.
leeway than they should.
Yeah.
And then when LeBron came, it was like, all right, we're going to have to win a championship. You can just do whatever you want over here. LeBron's going to do whatever he wants. And then it just cycled down.
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, though,
Any player that gets
that's what's biting him in his ass right now. That's why there's not really much trade talk for Kyrie,
Right.
because all the other GMs are looking around like this is something that comes consistently with Kyrie. So they're like, we'd rather not really deal with that. Great player on the court, but all the other outside, some teams really don't need that. Some teams really don't need that. So it's just like, but again, if he ends up with your Lakers, he got LeBron by his side, who he's been on podcasts, about a month and a half ago, saying I called LeBron multiple times. Our relationship is mending and stuff like that. So there's someone who can kind of keep him level-headed and keep him with that one goal to get the championship. It would be LeBron, because they have done that in the past and succeeded. But I mean,
time will tell.
Yeah,
time will tell. Nah. So what was our next topic of discussion?
Oh, no more KD stuff, or nah. So then we got Malcolm Brogdon going to the Celtics, in which I thought was an amazing move. I feel like the only red flags with this move is his contract, which is super expensive, and the fact that over the past 3 or 4 years he's been injury prone. But other than that, I think it's a huge pickup for this team. Somebody who needed a true point guard, a true veteran point guard.
Mm-hmm.
You move Smart from the 1 to the 2. You move Al Horford to the bench, and now you have a legit solid, starting 5 that could definitely, I think it was an all-in move for the Celtics because they gave. And what's most amazing about this trade was they didn't give up any core players for Brogdon. So they were like, all right, you know what? We got this trade executed. Let's run it back. And they might very well just run it back. I'm very high on Brogdon. Again, the injury is a little concerning, but as a player, I think he's going to fit in very well with the Celtics.
Secondary ball handler, 3-point shooting, both positives for Brogdon. Like you said, just the injury history makes me a little nervous, but I think that Smart may end up staying at the 1, as weird as that sounds, to allow more of the shooting of Brogdon to kind of be, sometimes a spot-up option. Like I said, secondary ball handler. I like it now because Tatum, I think, is more effective at the 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that move. I do like now that Aaron Nesmith got moved because I got tired of hearing about when's Aaron Nesmith going to develop and all that stuff. Now he can go to Indiana, less pressure. Maybe he can get his 3-point shot back. I thought overall, though, Indiana could have got more for Brogdon than they got. But Boston also made another move. I don't know if we'll talk about it later, so I just want to mention Danilo Gallinari as well for the front court. So they're really looking at shooting, which was a detriment to them, last season. So that will be a plus all the way around. So like it for Boston, not so much for Indiana. Just thought they could have got more.
No, I figured I'd go mix up the order. That way we're going in a different order than like we went the last time. For the Indiana Pacers, I feel like, is Danny Ainge still running the Celtics or is it Brad Stevens? Because this looked like a type of fleece that Danny Ainge was doing over there. Brad Stevens learned well because you just took one of their best players and you gave them back Tice, Aaron Nesmith, and some draft picks. Tice ain't gonna provide nothing for the Indiana Pacers because I don't think they keep him on that roster. Maybe they add Aaron Nesmith as a young player to fit with the young talent that they have on that team. But right now, if I'm the Indiana Pacers, whoever the GM is, and then now having Rick Carlisle as the head coach, I'm looking at them and I'm saying to myself, all right, we're going to have to reevaluate why I hired y'all again. Because literally all Rick Carlisle has done is come in and trade away the whole team. That's literally what he did. He just basically came in and said, I don't want none of these players, get them off my team. Okay, so now you went from being a 4th, 5th seed in the East to you about to just be the bottom of the East and just racking up lottery picks. For the Celtics, you get a person who is you finally got a point guard, like a point guard, not a scoring guard. You finally got yourself a point guard, a guy who's going to come in, he's going to play defense, he's going to initiate the offense. And for defensive purposes, if he's healthy, that combination of Marcus Smart and Brogdon on the court the same together, that's going to cause fits, and Jaylen Brown. That's going to cause fits for teams' perimeter offense because now you got 3 capable defenders on the court at the same time, which means Tatum don't even have to play defense at all. Ime Udoka's not going to let him do that, but he don't really have to play much defense when you got 3 guys out there that can handle their matchups one-on-one. And then if you have Robert Williams healthy, play him. Do not put old-ass Horford. Go with the younger center out there and then have Horford come in for spot minutes. Then you got yourself a really good defensive lineup because now you have 3, 4 guys out there that are really good defenders, and Tatum's decent defense. You won't really worry about him getting beat because he has help all around him, which allows him to focus a little bit more on scoring from himself. All right. But the Pacers, no, if you're Indiana Pacers team, don't even buy tickets next year. You're wasting your money. You're wasting your time. Just let's watch that shit at home. Don't even bother.
Jesus.
Oh man, Tyrese Halliburton doesn't get any love.
That's what I was gonna say, Pete. I'm like,
Not
this
ticket
is
price
just them. This is just them going all in. They must have really liked what they seen from Tyrese Halliburton. Was like, you know what? Okay. He's younger. We're just gonna go with him.
I ain't paying $150 per ticket for that. I treat that shit like a high school game. We get a $5 entry fee.
I feel you, but it's Indiana. They will.
I'm not paying.
It's Indiana. They will.
Yeah.
But I think not surprised that because they've been trying to put Brogdon up there. I think it was the past three seasons, not or maybe two off seasons. It was always Brogdon and Turner. Those are the first ones you always hit Indiana trying to shop, and then it's just like at this point, you might as well just take what you can get because it didn't work last season or last off season. Didn't work the around the trade deadline either. So they finally just was like, you know what? That probably was the highest bidder, maybe the only bidder, and was like, you know what? Just take them off our hands. That is what it is. Like you guys mentioned, the contract. That's probably the main reason why they wanted to do it. But Soto, brought up a good point. The health with him, he hasn't played 60 games in the past 3 years.
Yeah,
He only
3 4
played.
years.
Yeah, it's been 54,
knee and ankle issues.
56, and then 36. So that's not even really close to half the season. So if he's not healthy this upcoming season, I don't know what the hell. Like, you barely played, so you should be more than healthy. You should be the healthiest one on that damn Celtics team, based off them just going to the finals and all that. They had a little shorter off season, but I definitely, for any basketball fan, I think the possible defensive cheese that Boston could have, like, is scary. They still have Derek White too, which I like that they didn't ship him away. I wanted him to stay, but now it's like with Brogdon, he's bigger, so the defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart, can also have someone else where that switch defense, which Ime likes to run, kind of helps him out. He's still going to give his all because it's Marcus Smart, but it's like when you see Brogdon alongside of you, you're like, all right, I don't got to fight as over and sacrifice my body, because what goes under the radar is how many nagging injuries Smart goes throughout the season for sacrificing his body, literally just fighting over screens, maybe flopping a lot, selling it and stuff. He might bring that upon himself, but he's one of the few ones that legit try to fight over the screens, not lazy, like let me go under, or lazy, like let me just reach my arm through and just try to make it seem like it's an illegal screen. Like, he's legit fighting all the time. He wants to guard the best player on the opposing team and stuff like that. So now he'll be able to get some rest and maybe keep him healthy. So if Brogdon could stay healthy, I think it would keep certain players who usually get nagging injuries throughout the regular season on Boston healthy, which, for the playoff run next year would be great for them. So I like the pickup a lot. I like the Gallinari pickup a lot too. I think that also, like you said, can put Horford coming off the bench, where it's just like he could just be the vet, chill out, regular season, play spot minutes, which he kind of was doing a lot until Rob got hurt during the regular season, and then just hopefully he'll give you a little bit more in the playoffs. So it's just like basically now you have a full man rotation, a full 10-man rotation with a full starting five and a full rotation five, and then now you just gotta pick and choose what you put. And
something that they were lacking in throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, that's why Ime only went 6 deep. Damn,
yeah,
man.
exactly, 6 or
finals.
7, and then now you have Pritchard off the bench, you have Gallinari off the bench, you have Horford off the bench.
Yeah,
so it's like more
still
guys
got
that
Grant.
you still have Grant. Like that's where they were lacking, depth and guys that they can definitely rely on. So I definitely love the Brogdon pickup. So then we move on to the next trade. The Hawks trade Kevin Huerter to the Kings for Justin Holiday, Harkless, and the 2024 first round pick, top 14 protected. What are your thoughts?
We start off with Henry or Pete.
Anyway,
I wanted to hear what Pete had to say. I feel like Pete always has a comment about what the Hawks do.
I mean, Huerter wasn't going to play as much, obviously, with the recent trade of DeJounte Murray. And then you've got Bogdanovich is basically the sixth man now. They drafted AJ Griffin, who, in my opinion, is obviously he hasn't played an NBA game, but I think could be more of a consistent spot up 3-point shooter than Huerter, because Huerter gets his stuff kind of off the dribble a little more effectively. I mean, I guess if you're Atlanta, you get Holiday back as a rotation piece that's not going to ask for tons of minutes, can kind of be a glue guy at both shooting guard and small forward. Obviously, his brother Aaron signed a contract as the essential backup point guard to take Delon Wright's role. Mo Harkless maybe could get moved, or just be a virtual linchpin at small forward, power forward combo. Athletic, can get some baskets in transition. The 2024 first round pick, I mean, that's great. Whatever. We don't know what Sacramento will end up doing, so we'll see. But Herter going to Sacramento is perfect because now he can start at the 2 as a bigger guard next to De'Aaron Fox. That allows Monk to be the super sub, microwave scorer off the bench, and secondary ball handler in Herter that can get you maybe 14, 15 points and be solid enough. We saw
Would
Keegan
Mitchell come off
Murray's.
the bench too?
Yeah, Mitchell comes off too, so he's a smaller guard behind Fox, and that helps defensively with Monk as well because Monk's obviously not a great defender. So we saw Keegan Murray do really well yesterday, so we'll see how that kind of all transitions for Sacramento moving forward.
Gotcha. What you got,
All right.
Henry?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the Kings are sort of retooling their team a little bit. I know now they got Herter and Malik Monk and a couple other pieces on that team. So it seems like the Kings are slowly building the team towards trying to contend. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to be a shoo-in for the playoffs. They might make the play-in, obviously, but I do like the directions they're going. Shout out to Jared's team because I know that's Jared's team. But I do like the depth that they have on that team. I think they have a pretty balanced depth when it comes to offense, defense, and veterans and everything like that. So I do like that. The Pacers, on the other hand, I have no idea what are they doing. I mean, Hawks. I'm sorry, Hawks. I don't know what they're trying to do with trading Herter because I do like Herter as a player. I think he does a little bit more than shoot because I know he's actually an underrated passer on that team because I know in the playoffs, Hawks will never see that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like,
I just
I get that Herter might not have play time because of Murray, but Herter is still a valuable contributor to that team because, like I said, there was games where I watched where Trey was not playing well and passing and turning over the ball a lot, and Herter was sort of facilitating and moving the ball around and doing a little bit of things to sort of take off the pressure. So I get it, but like I know for a fact the Hawks are running Murray and Trey lineups probably a big portion of the time, and I get it, but like with you got Bogdanovic is that's not really his game to sort of facilitate. And he's sort of like basically a streaky shooter as it is, but I know he's a beast, but I don't know. Like I get that, getting Holiday and Harkless helps your defense. And I'm not going to knock Holiday because I know Holiday is an underrated shooter. He played well with multiple teams he's been with, Chicago, the Knicks, all of them. He started to develop that 3 ball, so that did help his game and allow him to stick in the NBA a lot longer. Mo Harkless, I don't really know, and that pick, big question mark to me. So
I just think
He's similar to Holiday.
I just think with that trade, it was just a financial trade because Holiday and Harkless, they both have expiring contracts. So after this season, they'll save up about $10 or $11 million, and then they also have that pending John Collins trade wherever he ends up going. So I think it's just a financial move for the Hawks. I mean, it's still a question mark because we don't know what's gonna how it's gonna play out. And then true, Coach Norman Fisher said the Hawks will never see that pick guaranteed. Kings will be a lottery team.
Exactly what I said before.
Even though they have improved their roster, adding Monk and Herter, I don't even see this team with a loaded West. I don't see them going.
I see them in the play. I see
you could get the play in because Utah's going to take a step back, and then Portland. If you compare rosters, Portland ain't looking too hot right now.
Portland gonna look like?
Portland's like Soto said previous podcast. Portland is still incomplete, so I can't really 100% do. But I do like the Kings roster. I did say they do. I don't think they're shooting for the playoffs, but for the play-in, I think so. I think they're finally building a roster in the right direction. I should say. For once, I could actually say that. The Hawks, like Coach said, unless they plan on maxing out Murray, I see him being a loner there. I don't really know how that's gonna pan out for the Hawks, and I'm scared that it might backfire on them. I mean, I hope it works out, but we'll see.
I just thought, you know,
Gotta
like
move Collins.
with the Kings entering the play-in, I just think it's tough because, like, you know, just real quick, you have Phoenix, Grizzlies, Warriors, Dallas, Nuggets, right? Utah will probably take a step back, but they'll probably make the play-in. You have the Timberwolves who are on the come up. You have the Pelicans who are getting Zion back and the young pieces. I think they'll be a play-in team. Then you have the Clippers who are probably getting Kawhi and Paul George back. The Lakers, I don't think they're going to miss the play-in, to be honest with you. And then I think the only team from last year that misses the play-in is San Antonio.
Yeah.
So I in my opinion, that's why I think like it's hard for me to believe the Kings will make the play-in. I mean, listen, I could be wrong, but it's just a loaded West.
Well, some of those teams also, you know, if you think about it too. So I think you're correct, but I think some of those teams too rely on more of can they stay healthy. So we're talking about, for example, the Nuggets. You got Jamal Murray and Michael Porter coming back.
Right, but despite that, they still made the playoffs. And then the Clippers, with all their injuries, they still made the play. You know,
you got the Clippers, and you also like another thing too. You also have the Lakers too, with the injuries of AD and LeBron and everything else. You know, like you said, there's a lot of unknown variables in the West. That West is going to be. It's gonna. I'm just gonna put it like this in the best way I can put it. It's going to be super competitive. Put it like that. It's probably going to be the most competitive it's been in a long time. I think the Jazz, for me, are going to take a big step back just because of everything that's going on. I think, like, granted, they still have Donovan Mitchell, Bogdanovic, and Conley. That defense is just going to be perturbed. That's the best way I'm going to put it.
So just to make things clear, you don't have the Jazz entering the play-in, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
I can't. It's to be determined. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm gonna put incomplete just because I think they took a big step back, like Pete was saying earlier, when it comes to defense, like losing Gobert and everything. Who are they really gonna have to stop people from going into that paint? Who are they really gonna?
There's on paper right now, unless Mitchell gets moved and a bunch of other stuff happens, they're still better than the Kings. But I think the Kings could be in the contention for the play-in, like
Correct.
Because Memphis with Jaren Jackson, how far do they slide down? Not saying that these teams can't make the playoffs, but it's going to be super competitive. 3-4 wins could be the difference between being in the play-in and not being in the play-in. And if the Kings can get sneaky wins here or there because they're playing a team that might be down health-wise, that could make a big difference. But the offseason's still like super early, so we'll have to see what other teams do, because the Grizzlies still need to get something in there other than 2 first-rounders that aren't really, I don't think, going to be that effective to replace Jaren Jackson Jr.
I will say that Henry and Pete, y'all positivity with the Kings, y'all would make great youth sport coaches. Like CYO, PAL, y'all would be great, because the Kings essentially, they're like a YMCA rec league team. And
you're saying that because
y'all don't found a way. Y'all don't found a way to make them sound like they're gonna be competitive this year.
You won that chip because the refs screwed you over the Kings. Please stop.
Okay.
I mean, my thing is with the Kings, it's got to be at some point that it turns around. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
I'm like y'all trying to be optimistic and positive.
I like
the
organization. So, I mean,
I hope they look, because I mean, right now, if this don't work out, they don't got many options to go with. They're running out of people to trade.
Right.
So they're gonna have to figure something out. But for the Hawks, I think they just, like, similar, like Soto said, it was about some cap flexibility. They're still trying to move off Collins.
Right.
What Holiday can provide, he's a 3-and-D guy. You could play him in at that 3 spot sometimes, even alongside Murray and Trae Young, to try to add some extra defense on the floor, some extra floor spacing for 2 guys that primarily operate in pick and roll isolation style basketball, as in Murray and Young. I do have a fear that this could be a 1-year loan, because I think Murray is looking for a max contract. So the Kings, I've seen the Kings. The Hawks really do have to move John Collins to try to free up that cap space to give him the type of contract he might be potentially looking for. So,
And
yeah, I
better
don't.
spacing, because now with Capella, Collins, and Murray, you don't have 3-point shooting in 3 positions, and you have a questionable, healthy DeAndre Hunter. Where's your 3-point shooting outside of Trey going to be? So if you can get a stretch 4, doesn't have to be a massive star, but get a couple good pieces back for Collins, maybe a pick or 2 in there, it helps them for the future. I do think Murray is probably a 1-year, once they, figure out, okay, well, we can't max this guy. And then going forward, if we max him, you got max Trey, max Murray. You can't really do much else. Capella's got a bigger contract. Like, what are we doing here? Are we going to be 5th in the East and, clap our hands and say, this is great?
I'm finally glad somebody sees that the Kings owner medals more than Dolan. Thank you for that.
Yeah, he lost me that time. He said that the Kings could run the same offense that his daughter's CYO team was running. I was like, what?
Shit.
Once he said he was going to talk about running a press with
Jesus.
4 people, I was like, huh? In the NBA? That's when I knew, Kings in trouble now.
Silicon Valley mindset.
That was a bit of a stretch there. But and what you think about this Kings deal in the Atlanta Hawks?
I don't really know if any team really benefits from this trade like tremendously. Like you guys said, maybe Atlanta's just gonna go for the one and done situation because they know Murray's gonna probably be out next year. So I guess it helps them for 1 season. But then after that, unless they're able to shop Collins, it's like they're really literally limited to what they can do. Big time.
Yeah.
And the Kings they're just the Kings. Nobody's really worried about what they're doing over there.
Don't do that to Jared like that.
Shout out to Jared. But yeah, nobody's really worried about what the Kings are doing. Honestly. Like they had a good start to the season. What was that, 2 years ago? When they had a real good start to the season, everybody was like, oh, the Kings are making some noise, and then whoop. Went downhill from there. Besides that,
I'm waiting for
But
Jared.
that was Luke
I'm waiting for
Walton's
Jared to
first
enter the
year.
chat here.
I agree with Coach on that one. This was a meaningless trade to me in my eyes. I just don't understand. Like the Hawks kind of not really get better, but they kind of maintain. But again, they got better with the Murray pickup. But Mo Harkless, and
Their defense got better, but
it's financials. It's all financials.
yeah.
So we're gonna go back into free agency. Those players that decided to re-sign with their team.
Ooh, talk about money.
So from one
getting thrown around.
shooter to another, shooter, and Zach LaVine signed a 5-year deal, max contract with the Bulls. What do you think about that one?
I knew you were going to say that.
I kind of was shocked because I've read a lot of stuff about him really thinking about the Lakers, and I forget what the other team was. So when he signed so quick with Chicago, I was like, oh, maybe he likes where he's at. I mean, they were doing pretty good. So they got the injury bug really bad, and then you can only do so much. So run it back next year with LaVine, DeRozan, Caruso. See what happens. They were top of the East for first half of the year. So
I think it was only the Lakers and to confirm that. That was the only
the Lakers. All right,
that was the only Lakers, to confirm
which could have been a good pickup for them. I think him next to LeBron would have been crazy.
Yeah,
But
that was the rumor swirl at first.
Keem Nurkic re-signs with the Blazers on a 4-year, $70 million contract. Your thoughts?
They gotta have somebody on the roster. Like,
Damn.
at this point, it's like they ain't got no trade assets. They have no draft picks. And you got Damian Lillard there that says to you, I don't want to be traded. I want to try to win here. Nurkic is the best option they had to go re-sign and pick up. It wasn't like they got a laundry list of players that want to go there. You got Damian Lillard on Twitter trying to get KD to come to the Portland Trailblazers. He mentioned 2 teams, the Phoenix Suns and the Miami Heat. He ain't touched the Portland Trailblazers. So it's like he's got the same dilemma. Nobody wants to go there. So they was like, you know what, Nurkic, you've been here, you loyal to us, you rock with us, you willing to throw hands to protect Damian Lillard, you on this squad, big fella. But what he brings to the team, I mean, if he's not hurt, then I mean they get a guy to get a double-double and plays no defense. But everybody on the Portland Trailblazers don't play no defense, so he fits right in. So yeah, go ahead, run it back with the same core, be hot trash again. And then I can see Dame in the offseason talking about nobody want to come play with me. Everybody just want to do this super team. Well, hey, look, big fella, it's either you get with it or get fucking lost. And right now, you losing. So go ahead, run it back with Nurkic, be hot trash again, Portland Trailblazers.
All right, tell them how you really feel.
Hey, to their defense, they did get better a little bit defensively, so you can't say that completely.
Who they got better? Chauncey Billups gonna play defense? He on the team? He gonna come hoop?
You got Jeremy Grant, bro.
They gonna come hoop? We go.
That's a good pickup for them.
You can't say that.
I guess.
They picked somebody who I like, but we'll mention him in just
in fairness, right, Henry? What was the Pistons' defense with Grant on that team?
They had only him.
Okay, that's all he got now. It's only him. Who else on the Portland Trailblazers play defense? So you basically
we'll get into that in a second.
All right. So, all right. Garland and the Cavs agreed to a 5-year, $193 million extension. Pete, your thoughts on this deal?
It's good for Cleveland because he's an all-star. You keep the cap flexibility if LeBron ever decides to come back to Cleveland for a third time, which has been rumored, which I don't know. You can take what you want with that. Garland gets them an exceptional, to me, ball handler in the backcourt, playmaker, scoring, kind of does it all. The question for me is going to be, do you pair Karis LeVert again in the backcourt, or what are you going to do with Colin Sexton? Are you trading him? Basically, with him being a restricted free agent, the Cavs aren't going to tie up their cap room, so we won't see anything probably until Thursday, I believe, is the 6th. They can make deals then as far as restricted free agents, figure that out. I don't know if the Cavs have as much success as they did last season. I think it's going to be more what they showed the second half of the season, where it was like, all right, we'll probably be 6 to 8 seed, maybe, buying there unless a big move. Still don't like Markkanen as a small forward. But Garland, I could see him potentially making a second All-Star team next year, in the East.
Gotcha. I thought it's only fitting to leave Henry with this
money making Mitch.
I knew it once you skipped over it. I was like, this.
I definitely skipped over it.
You know what?
I did it on purpose.
Like,
so Mitch Robinson, Knicks agreed to a 4-year, $60 million contract. Take it away, Henry.
They signed Mitch Rob to $15 million a year, basically. You do math. I think that's not a bad deal for the production you get from him. He is a defensive-minded center, so that is something that fits the scheme of what the Knicks try to do. Granted, as a Knicks fan, we know they took a huge step back last year when it comes to defense, and I say huge because I'm just speaking facts. I'm not going to say, they took a little step. No, they did. They took a huge step back. What I would like to see from him, granted that he got paid being a second-round pick, which, congratulations to him getting his money. I'm not going to knock that. But I would like to see more consistency. There's games where he has monster games where he could have 15 points and 20 boards, and then there's games where we have 2 points and 2 boards and have foul trouble. So I think for me, if you get in this contract, you got to put a little bit more consistency. Not saying that you can't have a bad game every here and there. Everybody has it. But you can't have those streaks where you go a couple games in a row like he did last year where he had 2 rebounds and 4 points and was just in a ton of foul trouble. So I'm not against the deal. I think it's a good deal. I think you keep somebody somebody you've developed in your system, somebody who's familiar with everything, and that can grow and continue to be an elite defender and, continue to work on his offensive game. Because I'm not going to knock Mitch because I do know he works hard. He gained a lot of weight and muscle to try to get ready for the season. So he is a hard-working kid. So I ain't going to knock him for that. So
he was a second-round pick, and when the Knicks selected him, he had this raw potential talent, and over the years we've just seen growth. So
Exactly.
It's a great great signing, something that the Knicks needed to execute. So yeah, I like it. I like it. So this one is pretty much in general, just seeing what you guys truly think of this one. But Zion Williamson signing a
God, coach.
five
I was gonna
5 year
talk about
deal,
that comment. That's just funny.
193 million extension with the Pelicans.
Well, when I saw it, well, I was gonna get to that comment that coach made about Charlotte sharing time with the AARP lineup. I was gonna mention that when Henry was talking about his struggles. It's like, well, when you got Papa Gibson out there taking player time from him, it's kind of hard out there tap dunking in the other team's baskets. It's kind of difficult to get some minutes consistently in that rotation. But
No, I
I
mean,
get
yeah,
I get what
that,
he's saying.
that I get, but consistency is for me is key. It's like I get you can have bad games, every player does, but
Mhm.
you can't have a stretch where you have 3 or 4. I remember there's a stretch last year where he had about 3 or 4 games in a row where he had like 2 rebounds and 2
Yeah.
points, and his defense is off. Like you can't do that all the time. Like 1 or 2 games here and there, but you can't have stretches like that. You got to be reliable. And they didn't sign him for a big contract, so I'm all for it. Like I
Hartenstein
said,
will help a lot too, though.
what is it?
Hartenstein will help as far as rim protection, things like that.
I did
if
like that pickup for them though. That was a sneaky good good pickup for them.
If Mitch isn't working, they could always go to.
I still got Sims as well. As a backup option.
Sims was good in limited amount of time last year. That was a
Very good.
solid pick. So I'm not knocking it.
Yeah.
Nick's got 3
Mhm.
solid bigs that give you a little bit of everything differently, and I like it. So
No, I know Soto mentioned the Zion. So I know Pete and Henry. I think he heard y'all talking. I think Zion heard y'all. He was like, the streets is talking about I'm fat. So my man been in the lab working on that body. He said, all right, say no more. Y'all trying to make these funny jokes about me? I'm gonna show you what I look like when I'm out here in this all season putting in that work. So
hey, I mean, there was pictures and stuff of him to the defense, but I never said that he didn't have to work ethic to lose the weight. I knew
How weird is it? I don't think I've ever seen any like athlete and like just the way that your body is turned in a photo. One photo you could look extremely overweight, and another like he turns just a slight little bit and he looks ripped and like in shape and like he's been training all off season. It's crazy how like you can just fluctuate that much. Like it's almost like like James Harden. One day you look like you sitting in the club, like hanging out with Meek Mill too much.
did you send Harden the Philly cheesesteak plug yet?
I don't know what's going on. And then the next time Harden looks like he's like been doing ab workouts for like a month straight. It just doesn't make any sense. But Zion,
that weight stuff is bad. I'm gonna tell you that much, Pete. I agree with that.
Zion back off the beignets. It clearly looks like
no more gumbo.
He can take maybe he can take the Brandon Ingram diet and slim down a little bit.
He said he got the gumbo lights. Nah, but I think I'm gonna go with just like what Pete piggyback off that real quick. The weight stuff, Pete. Just as like you said, pictures. One picture he looks like he's the next coming of Biggie Smalls. The next one he's like Jack, like he's Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day.
Whoa! What
there
was
some bad angles of him where he
what Biggie do? Come on, RIP the great. What Biggie do to you?
Listen, hold on. Let me get my point. He had a velour suit on, and people say he looked like he was close to 350. But then a couple weeks later, they had a picture of him with a tank top on, and he looked like he was like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So everybody was like what's going on? But from how healthy weight loss and stuff like that, like I look at it like him gaining the weight and losing the weight is not good for him long term because there's been a lot of actors that have gone on comment that have gained weight and lost weight and gotten really sick from it. An example would be Tom Hanks was one of them. He gained a lot of weight for a row. He lost a lot of weight, a couple rows in a row, and he developed diabetes and a couple other things from it. So just because you gain the weight and lose the weight, I mean, quickly, kudos to them for that, but it's not a healthy lifestyle to go by what I'm trying to say. So it's a scary thought that kind of stuff happens. And I know there's like medicines and different things, but I hope, for Zion's sake and everybody else's sake that he just stays healthy because we all know he's a really talented player and he has potential to be a generational talent. So hopefully Let's
I mean, he just got paid like a generational talent. So
Mhm.
hope
And I wasn't, and just now I wasn't laughing because of what you were saying. I was laughing at the comment because I thought to myself, Eddie Curry was once on the Knicks, so you got first-hand experience, and then Ant knows because he Big Baby Davis his time on the Celtics. So there's been some big body hoopers out here in these streets. So so it is possible
Trailer.
that
Yeah.
you can be
I was
both
just
at
gonna
the
say Travis
same
Trailer
time.
too, yeah.
I just think like it's crazy how he got the bag, and congratulations to him. But first season he played 24 games. Second season, 61 games. Didn't play at all last season. Now I get he's like super talented and whatnot, but to just commit to that amount of money, knowing that he's injury prone, and with this whole weight issues, that like I don't know what the Pelicans' mentality is. Maybe the Pelicans were like trying to keep him because with all the rumors that he wanted out and whatnot, so they're like, let's just throw the bag at him. Hopefully he resigns and whatnot, which he has. But I don't know if that's going to be good for the long term for the Pelicans.
What's interesting, if you look at the offense now, you got C.J. McCollum, who hasn't played with Zion, Jonas Valanciunas, you got Brandon Ingram there as a scorer. Like, does point Zion work with that, constructed lineup, like, effectively? Because that's where he was most effective getting his
points.
Mm-hmm. And so I just wonder how that's going to change things next season.
I think it works if they put another 3-point shooter on the court. Like if they just say X the traditional point guard and just go CJ a scorer, 3-point shooter, Ingram's another scoring option, and then put the ball in Zion's hand. And then because Valanciunas can stretch the floor with some outside shooting, you got to be creative with it. That's where coaching gonna come in. Willie Green's gonna have to figure out something to make it work.
Would you start CJ at the point guard and put Herb Jones maybe at the 2, like as an extra defender?
Yeah.
Like, and then you kind of let Zion run the show. Like, is that something you would do?
Yeah, have to experiment with something like that because, like you said, you can't argue his production. I mean, he's having like 25 points, shooting like 60% from the field at point Zion. So it's hard to dispute. And I think that's what, piggybacking on what Soto said, I think that's what they see. They see when he's healthy, he's one of the best players in the NBA when he's healthy. I mean, you can't argue that stat line. It's historic numbers in a small sample size of games. And then also, if he does decide he wants out, like Henry mentioned earlier about the asking price, you don't up the bar. You want Zion now, you're going to have to give us something for him. He's not just walking for nothing. This is going to be an Anthony Davis type of hole for him if you want Zion because of that contract he just got.
Yeah. So we now continue with the notable free agent signings of day 2. Some that were kind of under the radar, not too shabby signings. So Kevin Looney signing with the Warriors on a 3-year deal, $25.5 million contract. Ricky Rubio signing a 3-year deal with the Cavs, $18.4 million. John Wall signing a 2-year deal, $13.2 million with the Clippers. Bruce Brown signing a 2-year deal, $13 million with the Nuggets. Mentioned, I think it was by Pete, Gallinari signing a 2-year deal, $13 million with the Celtics. Jalen Smith signing a 2-year deal, $9.6 million with the Pacers. Gary Payton II signing a 3-year deal, $28 million with the Portland Trailblazers. And DiVincenzo signing a 2-year deal, $9.3 million contract with the Warriors. Out of all these and some that I didn't mention, which one happens to be your favorite? We could start with you.
Wow. Yeah, I don't. Give me somebody, and you go because I know it's been a while since you've said something. So I'll let you go and lead us off. And which one to you stands out the most?
DiVincenzo to the Warriors because it was looking like the Warriors were losing everybody. That kind of was beneficial to their run, especially in the finals. Gary Payton, a few other people. They lost basically Otto Porter, like all the role players that did good for them the whole playoff run. they kind of lost right away. And then you're like, okay, Warriors, what direction are you going for a bench? And then they pick up DiVincenzo again under the radar, not on day one when everybody's looking at their phone for Woj bombs and all that stuff. Day two when it's a little bit more quiet, and it's for a decent price too. They didn't really burn their pocket too much or at all, you could say. And I think I don't see him starting, but to him to back up Wiggins or even Klay Thompson, that's good. Another 3-and-D person. And it's just like they just plug people in. That's just the Warriors system. And usually if they pick you up and you play in that system, you end up fitting well and your numbers get inflated, and then he'll go somewhere else with 2 years, right? And then 2 years, and then boom, he'll get some good money because his numbers are going to look really good, because who doesn't have success in that Warriors system? So I think out of all the pickups in day two of free agency, that was the best one, because I feel like the Warriors needed that.
Got you. And just real quick for Ant, because I know you mentioned about the players that they lost.
Yeah.
Is there one player that you think is going to be a big loss out of who they've lost so far?
Gary Payton Jr., of course, because it was like he would come in for Curry. So when he would come in for Curry, it's like you go from picking out Curry for his weak defensiveness, right? And then now you're like, oh shoot, now the backup point guard was Gary Payton, and he's freaking full court and your backup point guard, which usually, obviously, he's a backup for a reason. And then that just kind of messes up your offense, and you're running the offense with like 12 seconds left on the shot clock, and he's just a great on-ball defender. So that they're going to miss that defense. The Warriors are going to miss that defensive presence, not in regular season. You know what happens regular season, right? But in the playoffs, that's when it's going to really show, like, damn, they're missing.
I think DiVincenzo can give him obviously nowhere near the level of defense that Gary Payton can give. But I think the off-ball defense is where DiVincenzo can help. And then being a little bit better shooter, even though it's 35% from three, I think just having that option of the shooting kind of helps. They lost Otto Porter Jr., which he is the one that I'm picking, Otto Porter Jr. going to Toronto as being sneaky good, because it gives Toronto more depth as far as if they want to make a trade to consolidate, whether it's KD or something else, they can consolidate, still play positionless basketball, which they like, because they like to move Scotty Barnes around. They can move Siakam around from the 3 all the way up to the 5. Now Otto Porter Jr. gives you that stretch option. If you want to play him at power forward, gives you the switchability at small forward. Even can play some really limited small ball center in the East, being able to stretch the floor. So I like the versatility there of kind of what Toronto has done. The only negative move is Chris Boucher back. I don't understand that, but maybe just a loyalty thing. But that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
Henry?
I did like that one move for day two. I believe it was Bruce Brown signing with the Nuggets. I did like that move. Bruce Brown's a pretty solid player, so I think that'll help the Nuggets out a bit. Obviously, Bruce Brown could do a little bit of everything. So I feel that was a sneaky good move by them.
Well, the only problem is, right, because he thrives at point guard center. So, you're going to have to take Jokic out the game in order to do that.
Well, that might help Jokic have some fresh legs, so I ain't against it.
He'll probably have a different role.
He is a good defender. He runs the lane, but I was just being funny because on the Nets, he's playing the 5.
Yeah, I know.
It took the chances over him or Blake Griffin or Andre Drummond sometimes, which is hilarious. But
Jesus.
Pete, did you pick I don't remember if Pete picked his.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Okay.
He picked Otto Porter Jr.
Okay. Got you. Just making sure. I was reiterating because I know he said it as a loss also for the Warriors, so I was making sure they counted 2 in the same. I would probably that's why I have like a brain fart on like which one I feel like was like a big deal, so to speak, out of the recent ones. So usually I don't say something the same as everybody else, but this time I'll say something the same as Pete. I would say Otto Porter Jr. going to the Toronto Raptors because they're doing that and the possibility that they might lose OG. So if you can bring in a guy who is similar but may be willing to play a smaller role that OG might not be wanting to play at this point in his career, then I think that it gives you a guy that can defend, that can play threes, So if you have to move OG, you already have somebody on the roster that can give you a similar production to what OG was giving you. And I think whoever gets OG, if he does get traded, is going to be a steal. But for the Raptors, that staying ahead of the curve is always what they've been very good of. So they put themselves in a position to be ahead of the curve. And rumors are swirling that they're trying to creep themselves into that Kevin Durant conversation. I'm not sure if it really happens, but same thing with Kawhi. We didn't think that they would be able to pull off that Kawhi trade, and they pulled it off. So
KD
I
said
like.
he's not opposed to playing in Toronto either. So
That would be. I mean, Drake is a KD fan, so it'd be fitting, right? To be back there. He have one of his favorite bros there with him. So yeah. You got anything else? Any other news? Soto, any other free agency moves that we need to chop up?
I'm gonna say that the biggest loss was the Warriors losing Gary Payton II. You guys stated the reasons why. He was the defensive anchor for that second unit, so I think that's a huge loss. And he was a vital piece for that championship that the Warriors won. I like, even though this team is not really gonna do much in the regular season next year, but I like the Pacers re-signing Jalen Smith. And the reason why is he was somebody who I think struggled to find, to look for a home and whatnot. And in 22 games, he averaged 13 and 7 or 8, and he looked really good. It's like the Suns really gave up on him early, and he shot 53% from the field, 37 on threes. So for a big man, and re-signing Cheek, I think that was a big win for the Pacers. So yeah, Jalen Smith. But to close out a free agency, there are some free agents still available on the market: DeAndre Ayton, Sexton, Trez, TJ Warren, Schroeder. Where do you feel like these guys are signing? What's your predictions? Where do you guys think? It could be all five or one of them. Where do you think they're going to land?
Gotcha. Who wants to start us off on that one?
Ayton's getting traded.
2.
That depends. There's 2 trade scenarios out there. One would be Brooklyn. The other one would be a swap for Turner from the Pacers, and expanding the trade with the Nets and them to make it a 3-team trade. That's one. Sexton. That's a big mystery. There's been a couple teams in on him. I know the Knicks are on him, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not. I'm not going to get into that one. But I mean, he can score, but that's just not even against his defense. So I'm not going to knock the kid. He's definitely a good dynamic scorer. I'll tell you that much. And he improved his defense a little bit, so he did take a little bit step forward. So I can't knock the work that he's trying. So go with that. So it could be the Knicks or any other team. I believe there's a couple other teams interested in him. If I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
What if you're the Spurs? I know, Soto, you may not agree, but if you're the Spurs, having a scoring, guard, because they're going to need points. They have defense.
Yeah.
What if he slotted in there, even if it's a 2-year deal, with an option for a third year, something smaller, like a bigger contract, but money-wise, financially, but not years-wise. TJ Warren's interesting because teams have to know he's healthy first.
He's been out for 2 years with the injury.
Yeah.
The Pacers, he might re-sign with the Pacers, but probably a heavy.
I don't know though, because they don't have a lot of room to play him.
Yeah, but he's not going to get a big contract anyway. So,
I mean, where do you find playing time? If you're Warren, you want playing time to recoup your value.
Yeah, I mean, true. I mean, I could see a team that's power forward heavy, or that doesn't have a good power forward that needs one. Try to sign him. Try to think off the top of my head who would sign him. Honestly, I could see
Boston was originally rumored, but now they got Gallinari. It's not going to work.
They're not going to. No, well, I was thinking Boston too, because that was one that they said. I don't know what team. There's not that many teams that have the room to probably fit him, I would say, per se.
Well, that goes into looking at Dennis Schroeder as well. Like he's probably getting a minimum deal. Like Keem, you mentioned it before we got started. You go from potentially you pass up a bit, a bag, to now you're fighting to get on a team. Like you're essentially, maybe if you're Dennis Schroeder, you're more getting closer to training camp. Like as you see, teams maybe with an injury during the summer or something, to kind of find a more prominent role because you need to build your value back. Montrezl Harrell, until his marijuana charge gets resolved, I think it's going to be a little bit of a red flag for some teams.
I wouldn't touch Harrell right now because there's more charges supposedly coming in for him. So he's in the.
That's what I was gonna say.
He's in the territory of name I shall not speak of, but he is in that territory right now as well.
Former teammate. Let's put it that.
Soon to be former teammate as well, both of them. So I'm not going to get into that, but I would not touch him.
Ayton's the interesting one, I think, out of all of these because it's going to be a sign and trade. So is it Indiana? Is it Utah? Like, is it a sleeper team like Atlanta that throws like a multi-team offer and they get him? Like, it's very limited teams right now for Ayton that can pay him. That the Spurs could, but then I like Jakob Poeltl better than I like DeAndre Ayton, and overall for the fit for where the Spurs are now, not as a better player, but just kind of as a fit for right now. My pick would probably be Indiana if you're moving Miles Turner in a deal. Maybe go there. But.
That was the rumor swap. It was Ayton for Turner and a couple, small little minor pieces here and there. But the other talk was expanding it to have Brooklyn in it somehow, so everybody gets something out of the trade to help them, because obviously Phoenix would have a hole at center. They would need something back, and I'm not saying they're going to be able to get Miles Turner and obviously Kevin Durant because the money, but something more serviceable center, I guess, would be the best way to put it. But I mean, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I probably for those free agents, I see Ayton and Sexton probably definitely getting something from somebody. Warren is a big mystery because of the health, like Pete said. Schroeder, Mr. Fumble the bag himself. Who knows what the hell is going to happen with him? And Harrell, I would not touch him within the 10-foot pole right now until all his stuff is cleared up, because that man and Voldemort have a lot of charges coming. So that's on them.
Well, you said best. Okay, because the question was best remaining free agent. So I'll probably say it's Ayton. I think Sexton is talented. Harrell has his off-court issues, but he is a talented player. But the off-court issues make him hard to deal with right now. Warren, injuries. He's the talent. He has the talent, but when he's hurt, that becomes an issue for him. And then Schroeder, he ain't played well in the last 2 years to really make himself a option where somebody's like dying to have him on his team. So I say it's Ayton is the biggest steal if you can get him.
It's almost in the right order the way we have it written. It's just it would be Ayton, Sexton, probably Warren, Harrell, and then probably Schroeder. To be honest with you, that'd probably be the order.
I think real quickly till I move into our closing thoughts is I don't know what Phoenix is doing. I understand if you don't want to max him, but you got to find a middle ground somewhere not to lose him, because to lose him, this team is going to take a step backwards. You overpaid Miles Bridges. Mikal Bridges, excuse me. You overpaid Mikal Bridges. He didn't show up in the playoffs. So basically, you got Ayton sitting there going, well, I was playing well. He was a no-show. He got his money. Now I can't get paid because you gave it to him. I think they should have waited on both of them and then made a decision on who you're going to pick. Now you're going to lose Jay Crowder as well, who was a big part of your team, because you're worried about the money space in order to try to do a sign and trade with Ayton, or if you're going to keep Ayton, or if you want to try to get yourself in that Kevin Durant sweepstakes. So, yeah, I don't know.
It's tough though, because there's no market for centers now. Everybody's trying to say, all right, we'll spend money on wings or guards. Like, we're not really wanting to overpay centers like that, because you can do it. Like, Phoenix is the example. You could do it by committee with JaVale McGee, Bismack Biyombo. Like they had the same production during the regular season as Ayton had. Now Ayton showed up, in the playoffs, and that's generally what matters. But you got it. You have to have another team that values that as far as part of their, their team.
Gotcha. Now, like always, we've reached that stage where we're at our closing thoughts. You can talk about some basketball related. You can talk about anything that's on your mind. The mic is yours. It's your time. So, what you guys got?
Go ahead.
No,
So,
you go ahead. You go ahead.
I know I don't know that we necessarily want to touch on the player per se, but I just feel like
that's why I said Voldemort, because I'm not going to say his name.
Yeah, I will say the young lady.
I kind of accidentally already said it. So
yeah, I mean, what happened to the young lady and the kids involved, I just don't. There's no way you can come back from that. I don't care. Second chances, you could say all you want to. I just hope that mentally those kids, physically the kids are okay, because once you see your mom like that and things like that, it's really rough as a kid. I'm not sure how old they are, but for any kid to have to go through that, and then of course her as a victim, nobody deserves that. So prayers out to to them, and to that particular player. Everybody keeps saying, F him, like all this stuff, like, and that's valid. I agree. But the other side is you have to pray for that person as well, that their mental health comes back to a state where they can get back to a mentally competent state of, forgiveness for themselves, and then being able to have forgiveness from, the young lady and the children involved, because that's their father. And at, some point, everybody deserves that forgiveness. It's just, what are you going to do to show the steps that you're going to get there? So he has a long road ahead, but I think that comes first and foremost before basketball, and as it should. So just wanted to say that.
I'm just going to piggyback off Pete. Yeah, mental health is important. I think being able to have healthy relationships and not be able to overreact to situations, regardless how severe or different things may go on. That's not how you handle yourself and do different things. To just piggyback off Coach's comment real quick, I didn't get to put it up, but we are innocent till proven guilty. However, there's been a lot of different things coming out on that. So I agree with you that too, but that's a little bit more different than that. Obviously, a lot of times, unfortunately, with sports athletes and just celebrities in general, a lot of these cases get settled for XYZ amount of money. But, the always hope of everybody is all the issues get addressed, because obviously, I'm just going to say this, money doesn't always help fix issues. There's a lot of work that needs to be done as a person to fix yourself. So hopefully everybody in that whole situation fixes themselves and fix the relationships and everything like that, because it was pretty serious.
To answer that, according to reports, he's already turned himself in and he admitted guilt. So you take that for what you want, as far as like who threw out the headline and, all that, the story, whatever. But to me, you turned yourself in and, admitted guilt. I mean, there's not really much more to it. And his erratic behavior before that with a fan, obviously the cup we saw, like, just a lot of things factoring in. I think maybe hanging out with the wrong people, and that factored into
that happens a lot. That happens a lot in basketball, unfortunately. A lot of these players sometimes hang out with the wrong crowd, unfortunately, and things like this, they get influenced and hear things and say things. So, but like Pete said, I couldn't sum it up any better. I pray for everybody, and I pray for mental health for everybody in that whole situation to get better, and however long it may take.
Gotcha.
I'm going to take a more positive approach. I'm just going to wish everybody a happy July 4th. Hope you guys pig out at barbecues and whatnot. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So yeah, just hope everyone enjoys their time. And yeah, that's basically it. Happy July 4th, everyone.
Shout out to Soto
Hey.
watching Friday in the back. He probably don't even realize what's on his TV, but see Smokey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just on a more brighter side of things. Shout out to old man Pete. He was able to get in the gym.
Oh, yeah.
Got some
Yeah.
shots up. Knee
Let's see if that
responded
holds.
well.
Let's see if
Shot
it holds
18
up,
for
though.
25 on spot up threes. Okay, NBA range. That's
Yeah.
key. That's key.
Yeah.
NBA range is important. 14 for 25 off the dribble. Sign this man. The way they
Yeah.
throwing out money.
That's
you can
the
get
off the dribble is
about
bad
3 mil.
compared to what I used to shoot in my prime, but right around the same range as far as spot up. But that's what I've been able to do, that spot up.
Yeah.
And it's, you don't really lose that, just no movement, like for me. But appreciate that. One
For
step at a
sure,
time.
for sure. Yeah.
Fingers
Definitely.
crossed, no injuries, because I'm actually going when we get done with the podcast.
Back to the gym. Yeah, you got that itch, right? Because your body responded well.
Yeah,
I respect it.
Gotcha.
I respect it.
So I figured I'll, wrap in terms of like bringing everything, together, so to speak, of what you said. So Ian, you started by talking about going to Pete and going to the gym and being able to play basketball, and everybody having that ability to get out there and feel good when you're out there playing basketball. Sort of mentioned 4th of July, as it's the America's Independence Day. So the key, and then when Henry and Pete's comments on, I feel weird not saying the man's name because everybody's already had the story out there as
Mhm.
Miles Bridges. And it puts in perspective, this is a young man who was having a conversation about wanting to get a max contract playing basketball. That was he was making headlines because people were saying that he wasn't really considering staying in Charlotte because they wanted to have the ability to max him, and he felt he'd get that elsewhere. And you mentioned about going into the gym and playing basketball. Soto mentioned the holiday. It just puts in perspective that every decision we make in life can take away a privilege from you.
Mhm.
Basketball is a privilege. It's not something that you're guaranteed. It's a privilege for him to be in the NBA. It's a privilege for him to provide the lifestyle that he could for himself, his wife, and their children. And somewhere along the line, he forgot that, and he made a decision now that is going to have a lasting impact on his ability to not only take care of himself, but now take care of your family. The one thing that was your odds and means of taking care of your family was the fact that you were a professional basketball player. You have now jeopardized that. So even you as a father now, you've hurt a relationship with your kids that now is going to stay with them for a lifetime. So whatever happened that day, I'm pretty sure if he can go back and rethink about his actions, he probably would take back what he did, but it's too late. You can't do it now. You can't take it back. You have to live with the consequences of those actions. So basically, my closing thoughts is, people out there, be fortunate for the opportunities that you have in your life and for the privileges that you have in your life. I mean, everybody goes through things in life that makes you upset, it makes you angry, it makes you mad, but it doesn't give you the right to lash out those things on somebody else. And whatever space that Miles Bridges was in, he lashed out against his wife, and now he has to deal with the consequences of his actions for that. So I am a big, strong believer, and I'm going to wait to see how the case plays out. Both him and his wife are entitled to their court case, their trial date, where the facts can be presented and a conversation can be had where we learn what happened that day. And it's important for his wife because this is going to be her ability to tell her story and explain what happened. So if it's a situation where this had been a pattern, she's giving a platform to Me Too and domestic violence victims to say that you can go report these situations when they occur, and you do have the support of the police and the support of your family and the support of your community when those things occur. And for Miles Bridges, he gets a chance to explain his actions. Because the biggest thing for her family is going to want to know, and his kids are going to know, is why. So he gets the ability to explain that why he did what he did. Doesn't justify it, but it gives a context to his side of the story and also her side of the story. So the due diligence and justice can be served where it's needed to be served too. But that was a deeper closing. But like always, we try to make sure that we engage in everything that's happening in the NBA, whether it's good news, bad news, on life in general, because we're not just individuals sitting here talking about podcasts. We have families, we have friends, we have loved ones. So the world affects us just like it does anybody else. But that brings us to the conclusion of this week's episode. Like always, if you've missed any part of our podcast, our Facebook and YouTube page are listed there at the bottom. Sounds like Hardwood, both on Facebook and YouTube. And then our Twitter is listed as well there at the bottom. SO, capital S, capital O, capital T, Hardwood Pod. And then our Instagram is sounds _of _ the Hardwood on our Instagram. So you can follow us on Twitter, you can follow us on Instagram. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our page on Facebook. We post weekly in terms of our podcast, and we engage every day on our social media platforms with whether you have questions or content that we put out to engage with our community. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll catch you on the next one.